Welcome to the Argyle ISD Trustee Candidate Forum. I'm Dr. Buddy Bonner, and I'll be your moderator this evening at tonight's forum. I'm here with Max Miller, who is the publisher of the Cross Timbers Gazette, where local lives here. The Cross Timbers Gazette is Denton County's largest locally owned newspaper, mailed to over 60,000 homes and businesses each month, including every household in Argyle ISD. You can stay up to date with the latest Southern Denton County news online anytime at www.crosstimbersgazette.com. Please also follow us on Facebook, Twitter or X, and Instagram. The forum tonight is being live streamed and on the Talon, Argyle High School Newspaper's YouTube channel, and will be available for on-demand viewing between now and Election Day. There are 2 contested school board races this year in places 4 and 5. I'd like now to welcome and introduce the school board candidates. In place 4, we have Josh Pizzuto, and second candidate is Rich McDowell. And in place 5, we have incumbent Dr. Leona McDade, and we have Miss Wendy McHugh. The structure for tonight: each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement. After opening statements, I will ask the candidates questions submitted by residents. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. We will also allow for an optional 30-second rebuttal after each question. Finally, there will be a 1 minute opportunity for closing statements. And then lastly, Mr. Quinn Kane here with Boy Scout Troop 99 in Lantana will serve as our timekeeper. We will begin our opening statements with Mr. Pizzuto. Josh, you have 1 minute for an opening statement, and we'll proceed down the line.
Thank you and good evening. In 2016, my wife and I decided to move our family to Argyle and started building our house in Canyon Falls when we saw that our previous district didn't reflect the values we wanted for our family. After moving to Argyle, we fulfilled a lifelong dream and opened a small business in the district, carving out our own slice of the community. As local business owners and having kids in the district, we are very passionate about investing in the schools and the community. Last year, I was also excited to be able to serve on the 2023 Bond Committee, and I currently serve on the Town of Northlake P&Z Committee. In addition to my public and local service, I have more than 15 years of organizational operations and strategy experience. I've helped build organizations and companies from startup through global reaching. It is this combination of local and public service and my deep experience in operations and strategy that uniquely qualifies me for the challenges the district will experience during this time of growth. My goal tonight, to show you the great passion I have for the district, to show you that I am genuine and authentic, to discuss my natural curious mindset, and to discuss the need for heavy communication, and just as important, my goal is to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Mr. McDowell?
Yes, sir. I'm Rich McDowell. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. My wife and I moved to Harvest in 2017, and I'm a father of 2 amazing kids that attend this district for 6 years. One who currently is a sophomore here at this high school, and one who's a 6th grader at the 6th grade center. I've been a proud sponsor of Eagle Partners, Argyle Eagle Booster Club for the last 4 years. I've served on the district leadership team for the last 2 years. I have served on the 2022 bond as a co-chair and the 2024 bond. I stand by the work that our committee did on both bonds. I chose to run for place 4 once I knew Mr. Devin Boff was not running again. I wanted to maintain and preserve the standard of excellence achieved in academics and extracurriculars, but also identify and help the district solve the challenges it faces with growth of public school funding from the state. I want to be an advocate for our students and district locally and statewide as important decisions are made that impact our children's future in public education.
Thank you, Rich. Dr. McDade?
Thank you, Dr. Bonner. I am Leona McDade. I am a 6-year incumbent on the AISD School Board. I have been an active parent in our schools, along with having had a band student in the awesome, great AHS band. I was a very active and involved band parent for 7 years. In addition, I am a retired 30-year career educator, beginning as a teacher and retiring as a campus principal. During my career, I've held positions in general education, special education, as an educational diagnostician, working with second language learners, district curriculum, and campus administration. This experience gives me a unique perspective as a school board member, as I have a great understanding of what teachers and administrators do every day, and I have respect for and appreciate them all. This helps to inform my decision-making. I know the questions to ask and what it takes to run a district. As a board member, I love being in our schools, my favorite place to be, and that my why has always been the kids. I want to continue the great work of our board in supporting our teachers, administrators, and staff in continuing to provide the best education for our students.
Thank you, Leona. Ms. McHugh?
Hi, my name is Wendy McHugh, and I appreciate y'all being here and everybody watching online and having the opportunity to sit up here. My family and I have been living in the area since 2004, and I had the opportunity to sleep on the sidewalk outside of the administration building in 2012 to get our children in on the limited open enrollment program. They were accepted and started in the 2012-13 school year. Our boys started here in their 2nd, 4th, and 6th grade and have all since graduated in class of 19, 21, and 23. I have been a part of the Bond Oversight Committee for the past few years and the Bond Growth and Planning Committee the last 2 years. Along the way in getting to Argyle ISD, I started volunteering, translating, subbing, and was later hired at Hilltop, where I worked for 5 years, and then in the middle school for an additional 5 years. As a veteran working for Argyle ISD in the front office, I believe that that gives an enriching perspective and opportunity to be an asset in helping the school district in our excellent reputation.
Thank you very much, Wendy. So for this evening, as we're sharing microphones, make sure and pass those back and forth so we can make sure and have a good copy for the viewers later. We will get into the question and answer format, and the way that will progress, we'll start with Joshua and work down the line, then we'll go to Rich, et cetera. Do we have any questions before I get to questions? Okay, very good. So we will begin a question and answer format. Some of the questions tonight were submitted by local residents. Each candidate, as a reminder, will have 1 minute to answer, and there's an optional 30-second rebuttal. Questions will be asked in rotating order, as I just shared. And we will begin with Josh. And first question, and certainly we'll repeat the question if you desire. Josh, what do you view as the major challenges for the district in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think the easiest question is growth, but I don't think the growth is really our challenge. I think getting people on the same page and uniting the community is going to be the biggest challenge that we have. When you talk to, whether you want it or not, the growth is coming and it's here, but how we deal with it and how we solve the different challenges that brings us is going to either tear the community apart or build the community back together. And the best thing to do when you have these disagreements or just differences of opinions is to overly communicate, overly involve. And the district has been doing some really good jobs at doing all of these different forums and the different ways to kind of get the word out on specifically the bond, for example, right now. But there's a lot more that we need to do to kind of come together as a community. And that's including different ideas from different perspectives on how to solve those challenges.
Thank you. Rich?
Yes, sir. Can I get the question again, please?
Absolutely. Rich, what do you view as the major challenges for the district in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes, sir. I think for public education in general, it's state funding. We are under attack. A lot of the choices that we're having to make today are being forced on us by our government. We're underfunded. I think we need to make sure that we are properly taken care of. If they want to do school choice, then let us play on the same field, right? I mean, pay for enrollment. Give us the $4,000 additional per child allotment. That would keep us, properly funded and giving the kids the opportunity that they have. Growth is happening as a secondary piece, but growth has been a 10-year constant in Argyle. And we're going to continue to grow, and that's why I like to be proactive and look at the 2024 bond as something that's looking into the future because growth is coming.
Thank you, sir. Dr. McDade?
Yes, sir. Speaking of growth, yes, growth is a very major issue here. There's a lot that goes along with that. We have grown actually as a district 82.8% since 2017, which is only a mere 6 years. I had someone that talked to me once about it being like a Swiss watch. Everything has to function together in order for everything to work. And in that regard, Regarding growth, yes. Growth is preparing the space for the students. It's having the appropriate curriculum for the students. It is also a lot to do with school finance, which Mr. McDowell alluded to, and all the legislative issues that are going on right now and the lack of funding from the legislature for all schools in the state. We also have to look at teacher retention, because we certainly want to provide the environment for them to be able to teach well and teach our students well. And that would include the possibility of maybe not having portables for safety and for teaching purposes. And I think it's very important, challenge-wise, I think the funding is a very, very big issue for us.
Okay, that's time. Dr. McDade, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McHugh?
I can reiterate everything that everybody up here has said. Our biggest challenge is growth. It is legislation. It is funding. It is retention of our teachers. But it's really easy to prioritize when we back the students, and it's simple to back the faculty in the district when we put the students first. We all moved here for a top-notch education, and I think if we face those challenges as the district has through administration and through the current Board of Trustees, and we continue to pull apart our best resources, build our facilities, and meet the needs of education, courses, high school preparation for college and in the world from afterwards, after graduation, then we're still facing those biggest challenges, but we need to continue to face the growth and prepare, and this 10-year bond is key in making sure that we are ready to have the facilities that our students need.
Okay, a lot of agreement on answers. That's outstanding. But there is an opportunity for a rebuttal, so we would conduct that the same way if anybody would like to respond to anything that was said.
I actually have a rebuttal.
Josh, do you have anything? No? Yes, Mr. McDowell.
Josh, you asked for unity, you asked for coming together. One of your strongest supporters and most vocal supporters out there is pretty negative on the community and the school district itself. Have we spoken to her or that individual to say your point of being unified and what you're wanting to do for this district to be unified?
Please.
So, I think differences of opinions are really important, whether it's in public or private. And so, the most important thing that when you have these differences of opinions is to make sure you are speaking with respectful, informed disagreement. I think there was at one of the board meetings, there was a previous superintendent that kind of spoke with that. So for me, I speak my truth. I speak, and you can see that on my website. You can see how I think and what my opinions are on the different issues. And just like you, I don't have anyone else that speaks for me. I speak for myself.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies? No? Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, next question. We'll start with Mr. McDowell. School districts across Texas have budget challenges due to stagnant school funding. What cost-cutting measures are you willing to put in place to ensure AISD can both meet its obligations and provide for a growing student population while maintaining the current tax rate?
Yeah, it's again, a great question, and I think one that we've got to be extremely cognizant of. There was a report last night talking about getting rid of our taxes in general, which is another form of defunding education. The challenge that we have, or the value we have as a district, is we have a CFO that's been incredible in my ability to work with her with budget workshops and things of that nature, that she's able to show the true transparency awards. Also with the information that she's able to put out there with what needs to be cut. There was a Moat Casey report. We're not as fat as some districts. We're running the most efficient high school system that we can with the 7-period day. So, while yes, it is challenging, I think the biggest thing is we've got to be advocate and go after our legislation to go down to Austin and get properly funded.
Thank you. Dr. McDade?
Thank you. That's a very, very difficult task, which we are in the middle of dealing with. One of our main priority is to stay as far away as we can from the general ed classroom or any of the homeroom classrooms, because we want the teachers to be there in sufficient ratios to be able to teach our students the way that they're used to being taught. We are doing staffing through attrition. There are some positions that are being eliminated as people are either retiring or moving on for whatever reason. And we are also looking to possibly find ways to raise some money in the district through fees and maybe some other resources. And so far, if I get this right, Ms. Stewart, I think we started out with about a $4.6 million deficit, 3.5 of which was the formula transition grant funding cliff. And through everything that she and her team, Dr. Carpenter, have worked on, I believe we're about 1.6 million that we've reduced it to, and tried to keep the same quality of education that we have.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. McHugh?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody is well aware on how legislation is interfering with public funding. First and foremost, we need to get those funds released. I know that we had several board members who went down to Austin to advocate for that, and I know that that is something we will continue to do. Again, in company with Liz Stewart and with Dr. Carpenter, and taking their advice, listening to their budget workshops, and just really streamlining, being ahead of the curve with that Moat Casey study that really showed how smoothly and how well our master schedule is being run, and really lean as well as efficient has been fantastic. I know that that is something that we will continue to do to streamline and figure out more ways, whether that is raising some fees, raising some funding. The budget is a challenge that is statewide, and unfortunately, and it's not unique to Argyle, but we are going to meet the needs.
Thank you. Mr. Pizzuto?
Yeah, I think the most appropriate and the most important thing is planning and planning ahead. And so that's one of those to where, as we do, the 10-year plan is set to kind of get the district where it needs to go. But in addition to that, there are some things right now, like the $3 million funding cliff. We knew it was coming, and so we need to make sure that we are appropriately planning for some of these events ahead of time and not waiting for others, whether it's state legislature or others, to act and help us in the ways that we need them. I don't want to see, and Leona, you said too, I don't want to see our teachers or students in trailers, or outside in schools and as we grow. But I do think we need to continue doing what, for example, Liz has been doing, and finding creative ways to raise funds and raise dollars in different ways. And if the last couple of workshops and meetings, they've come up with a lot of different ways, have slowly chipped away at that deficit, and I think that's the most creative way that we need to continue.
Thank you, Rich. Or Justin. So we'll start with the ladies on any rebuttals, or is there anything further that either of you would like to address? Good. Okay. Gentlemen?
No, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Next question, and we will start with Dr. McDade on this one. Dr. McDade, how do you feel about the 10-year strategic growth plan and its impact on students and the district at large?
Well, we as a board voted on that 10-year strategic growth plan last year, and we kind of tweaked it a little bit this year, a couple of months ago, to make it where we are either going to split, we're going to split in the middle of a UIL realignment in either 27 or 29. I think that plan in general, if you look at the research and education, which I have looked at for many, many years, smaller is better. Smaller schools are better, better student-teacher ratios. You don't have the overcrowding. Students get more attention from the administration, from their teachers, from the counselors. And it's so much better for kids, and classes are not overcrowded. So I think our strategic plan is a really great plan for this district. I also look at, just for whatever, next year, Argyle West is going to be reduced from about, I know I have it written here, they're going to be reduced about 389 students because we're opening up Jane Russman. So it'll be different.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh?
Having been an employee of the district for the past 10 years, it has been really interesting to be on the inside, on the campus, and seeing how we have grown and prepared and repurposed the facilities that we do have. Having this 10-year strategic plan, though, it is a pivotal time for that as we are continuing to grow, as Dr. McDade said, at an explosive rate. And so the 10-year strategic plan, I believe, is at a key time in the transition and in the growth of Argyle ISD. And having been an employee, I know that I can see from could see from the inside out how great the district supports our students and being able to meet the needs with facilities and just looking ahead as far as we can to prepare and keep that level of excellence that Argyle is known for.
Thank you, Ms. McHugh. Mr. Pizzuto?
And can you repeat the question again?
Absolutely, yes, sir. Josh, how do you feel about the 10-year strategic growth plan and its impact on students and the district at large?
So, I think having a plan this far out is very smart, and it's needed. Just in Northlake, for example, for the town, we just did a 40-year plan, and it's important to have an eye on what the future looks like and what you want it to look like. Just as important of having that plan is being able to adjust when things change or as things change. And so having the flexibility with whatever, as these bonds hopefully go through, being able to adjust how that's used within those categories to, whether it's timing, to either pull things up if needed or slow them down as needed. I don't think anybody, for example, with the interest rates in the building, a lot of that has slowed over the past few years and is actually starting to pick up again, but we need to understand and watch that very carefully and use those 2 times a year that the board is going to be looking at that 10-year plan to make sure we're adjusting appropriately.
Mr.
Last
McDowell?
question, just one more time so I can make sure I get it
Absolutely,
completely.
How do you feel about the 10-year strategic growth plan and its impact on students and the district at large?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Having served on the 2022 bond, I can tell you firsthand, we spent 3.5, 4 weeks of that bond committee going over what we should do in the future because we had no plan. So I'm 100% behind the fact that the district heard our call and had a plan. I would also say that we need to better position ourselves for growth with the 10-year strategic plan. I feel like we're too reactionary, meaning we opened a elementary school in 2019 in Harvest, and it was at capacity. We opened it in the wee hours of the morning of the first day of school. We need to be better prepared for our students so they get that first day experience, excuse me. I favor a more proactive approach. I favor that. I think it's good. Yes, I agree with Josh, and I will tell you that this district has proven to listen and evaluate as we need to, and so we're going to continue to do that.
Thank you, sir. I believe that you all, gentlemen, if there is a rebuttal at this point, anything further? No?
No, sir.
Ladies? No? I don't want to miss anybody.
Well, I actually was just going to say real quick that in response to what Mr. Pizzuto said, we as a board are constantly, it's not just twice a year, we are constantly looking at data, constantly looking at the situation, constantly looking at the metrics, and we are definitely on top of the plan, the future, and where we're going to head in this district. So,
Thank you, ma'am. Next question, and we will start with Ms. McHugh. Do you believe that the school board could improve its transparency with the public? If so, what specific initiatives would you suggest implementing?
That is a very interesting question. So I'm going to say that I actively started watching every school, or most every school board meeting when we started with COVID and really streaming and opening up the minutes and following all of that. I would say there is a significant amount of transparency. The minutes are published ahead, or like the agenda is published ahead of time, all the action items, attachments, everything is on there. You can stream it, you can watch it later, you can ask questions at justask@argyleisd.com. There's a lot of ways that there's a lot of transparency on top of the awards that the district receives in the financial department as far as transparency. So part of being transparent is you have to be able to understand and appreciate and hear what it is that is being said. So I don't know that there's anything additional that could be done at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Pizzuto?
So I think, if with everything, everyone should always be continuing to improve, and if there always needs to be something to be done. Transparency definitely is, especially in any form of government or public office, something that should always continue to be improved. I do believe, since Dr. Carpenter has arrived, there's been a very good shift in communication and transparency. But that transparency doesn't just mean putting the parts of data out there that align with how you think. It's also putting data out there aligned with all of the findings of all the different things. And I think that's a really big piece that people are looking for and needing. But yes, I do agree, Wendy, like if you go and watch and listen to the different workshops, the meetings, there's a lot of discussion that is always being had on all of the different facts and different meetings. I think the most important thing is just to find better ways and more ways to continue that communication and make it more and more present, even improved all the time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McDowell, same question.
Yes, sir. As far as the transparency, I would tell you we're pretty close to an open book. We've got meetings that are on video. We've got workshops that the community's involved in. We have ambassador meetings, Silver Eagle meetings, Eagle partner meetings. We had a realtor lender meeting. There's a lot of data out there when it comes to understanding what is going on in our district. I think one of the challenges for us as a world today is sometimes we don't like the answer we get, and sometimes that is the answer. And we need to derive from that of what we can do as citizens in this community to join together to continue to make Argyle a destination district. And it's not always about complaining about what we're not getting. It's accepting what we do have.
Thank you, sir. Dr. McDade?
Yes, sir, thank you. I agree with pretty much everything that everybody else has said. Since Dr. Carpenter's arrival, I will say on her behalf, she has put a lot of programs in place, as Mr. McDowell has alluded to, with the Eagle, well, we've already had Eagle partners, but Silver Eagles, the Eagle ambassadors, being very strategic about the composition of the bond committee, and things like that. So everybody is represented in those committees. We did have students on the bond committee as well, which was very, very important. And I think for transparency purposes, we always have to be very responsive to the public. We have to be aware of the things that the public is asking for and be responsive to those.
Thank you, ma'am. I believe it's the ladies' time to start any response or rebuttal. No? Gentlemen, anything from you? Okay, very good. I don't want to miss a chance, right? Next question, and we're going to be back around with Mr. Pizzuto to begin. Josh, Argyle ISD is required to staff on student enrollment numbers, yet the state funds the district on student attendance. How would you advocate the importance of school attendance with parents to maximize school funding?
Yeah, it's real interesting because, I do really love how Argyle does a few things to encourage students to attend. Just even simple things with how how students can opt out of certain finals based on attendance and certain grades. I can tell you from personal experience with both of my kids that they pay attention to that, and if we're going to miss school because of that and cost that to them, then they don't like it, even if we're going somewhere fun. So I think that's a very effective program that should continue, and finding ways to do it like that with different carrots rather than sticks, I think is a really important piece. And not only doing it somehow, and I don't know, I don't have an idea that just to throw out there, but finding those different ways to continue to get the kids to want to be here, but even maybe reaching out to the kids that may not have those higher grades, but how do you reach those middle grades students to make them still want to come and attend would be my priority.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McDowell?
Direct question again.
Absolutely. It's a finite question. Argyle ISD is required to staff on student enrollment numbers, yet the state funds the district on student attendance. How would you advocate the importance of school attendance with parents to maximize school funding?
I'm going to take a little different approach here. I think we get a group together and we go to the state and we pay on enrollment. We're one of the, I believe we're less than I think it might be 4 or 5 states in the union that actually pay on attendance opposed to enrollment. All the programs that they're speaking about at the state level, from vouchers to school choice to all of that, they're going to pay on enrollment. So I think that's a way that we can be approach the state to change that opportunity that might actually help every school district in Texas. As to, making kids show up and things of that nature, I think we're currently running at 97% of attendance. Being married to a nurse, when you're sick, stay home. We don't need to then make 100 kids sick. So I don't know if I answered the question, but that's the best I got.
Thank you, sir. Dr. McDade?
Yes, sir. I agree with Mr. McDowell again. I think we're probably one of 10 states left in the country that funds on student attendance. And that makes it really, really tough because it makes it really hard to plan. It makes it really hard to staff. The enrollment comes in and it's going to be a higher number than your attendance numbers are ever going to be. I know that educating parents is a great way. I don't know that many parents really understand that there is a difference in how we get funded and how we get paid. And I think it's great if we do educate the parents on that. I know that schools also have individual attendance rewards and policies there as well, and I would always encourage parents and schools to work together to get our kids to school. Of course, you don't want them there sick. I understand that. But there are some of those days. I've been there as a parent, so you know that there are some of those days. And we appreciate that if you can.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. McHugh?
Well, I have some unique insight, having been the attendance clerk at the middle school for 5 years through COVID. You're welcome. That was very challenging. So knowing from the inside what it takes to run attendance for almost 1,100 plus students, 7-8 hours a day, making sure that they're there, following through with the parents, sending a, hey, I've seen that your kiddo isn't here. Are you guys good? Do you need anything? So one of the key things I know in this district that we have in place is fantastic attendance staff, PEMS coordinators, and things like that, where we're pulling those records, we're following through on truancy. We've put in policies for like early dismissals, for, educating parents. Okay, you can take your kiddo out, but these are the rules, these are the ramifications. So as far as Argyle, I think we've got to continue to educate our parents and then bless those attendance clerks, because it is a whole thing. It is a whole thing.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any desire for rebuttal? Mr. Mazzuto?
Yes. So, and I agree with, the approach that we do need to go to the state and understand and do what we need to do to help with that policy. But that's not within our direct control either. So we do, just like different funding, different other things, we need to be proactive to continue to find different ways to either communicate this or find better ways to make sure that we stay up in those high numbers, 96, 97, 98, like we used to be. And the best part of this, and I think Argyle's really good at this, is parent involvement. We need to continue having parent involvement.
Thank you. Mr. McDowell? Ladies? No? Okay, very good. Thank you. Next question, and I believe we're at Mr. McDowell, if I'm keeping track correctly. Rich, what unique strategies do you believe Argyle ISD could utilize in the recruitment and retention of staff and teachers?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're currently running at 88 to 90% retention in Argyle ISD, and that's incredible. We have the teachers come to our community because they want their kids in this school. They're drawn by the parents, and the actual school system. As to continue to do that, a lot of that would be referral from that standpoint. Ultimately, again, this is going to go to a state funding component. We have to pay the teachers. When teachers are respected, they're going to stay in their jobs, right? They're currently attacked. They're indoctrinating kids. They're doing this. They're doing that. Let's love on the teachers. They used to be off limits. Ultimately, we want to make sure that Argyle is a destination district, and our parents and our teachers make us that.
Thank you, sir. Dr. McDade?
I agree about the destination district. We've been a fabulous district to come to. We don't have any lack of teacher applicants here. In fact, we have a whole lot more to weed through than what we need. And that's a beautiful thing. I also know teachers that recruit their friends in other districts to come here as well. Part of it is obviously treating your teachers well. It's giving them a good, safe work environment, competitive pay, smaller classrooms, safe classrooms, adequate materials, and we need to celebrate them, which we do in our district very well. Rick Herron and Lauren Truebach and their staff do a great job recognizing our teachers for what they do. The other thing is, if we don't pass the bond, unfortunately, a lot of those conditions won't be met. We're going to have possibly overcrowded classrooms out in portables, not for anything other than if you're talking about teacher retention. I don't know how many people are going to want to work here like they used to, or that they are now. And so I agree that teacher retention is very, very important in our district.
Thank you very much. Ms. McHugh.
Absolutely. Currently, Argyle ISD is considered a destination school district for students and staff alike, due to the excellent facilities, curriculum, extracurriculars, and community involvement. We need to look to continue to pay a competitive wage within the constraints of what the state is allowing. Additionally, I now have a son who is an educator, and hearing his experience as he is being hired and as he is being incentivized to stay. So as an employee, there's a perspective. As a parent, there is a perspective. And one of the most important things, I think, is community support. Because when the students and the staff feel supported, they can accomplish all the things that we do accomplish as Argyle.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Pizzuto, if you would close us out on this question.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I agree, again, with much of what has been said. I think, understanding, respecting the teachers in every way possible is really important to keep them here. I do know, and I talk to a lot of teachers, have a lot of teachers that are friends, and, Argyle is one of those places that people want to come to, not only just for the school, but for the community, the environment, and what Argyle has been built up over the past, decade plus. And so it's really important that we keep that at the forefront as we continue to grow, and that we hear our teachers and what they're looking for, and what, from the inside, understanding what their needs are. When you do that, and you could underpay, you could be paying someone. I'm not saying we should pay our teachers more, but you can underpay somebody, but have the right environment, like what we have here, and people will stay, and they will be happy. And people will work through these challenges. I think one big thing we do need is and it may or may already not be there, but a District 360, to where teachers have a bigger forum and a better forum to give feedback on what they need from the district and from their leaders.
Thank you. Ladies, any rebuttal comments? None? Okay. Gentlemen? Good. Okay, very good. Next question, Dr. McDade, we'll start with you. As the Argyle ISD student population grows, what programs would you support for those students with divergent needs to ensure an equitable education?
Well, as we grow, statistics will tell you that you're going to grow in diversity as well. And so I will say we're doing some programmatic audits right now. We're doing an audit in the district as far as our staffing. We just finished a Moat Casey audit of our special education program, and there are definitely some things that we can improve upon in staffing. I think that our schools are very good, especially our elementary schools where a lot of this takes place, are very good at identifying the students that have those unique needs and need some unique programming, and we want to be able to keep that going at this point. And have the staff and the programs to be able to accommodate those kids.
Thank you,
They will be here.
Thank you, Dr. McDade. Ms. McHugh?
I actually kind of anticipated this one. The academic priorities is to be able to reach students where they are academically while pushing their abilities to continue to grow and live a little bit outside of their comfort zone and maybe try something new. We need to make sure that we have the support resources in place with the classroom aides who are invaluable in being successful in the classroom day to day. Academic UIL coaching for our students that continue to push the envelope and bring home the academic victories year after year. From working in the front offices, I have seen where academics is something that the campus and the district administration are looking at and evaluating constantly, and we will continue to evolve as we can meet those needs. As far as being equitable, a key part of that is making sure that our facilities are the same across the board, and that is a key component in passing this upcoming bond.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Pizzuto?
Can you repeat it again for me?
Yes, sir, absolutely. As the Argyle ISD student population grows, what programs would you support for those students with divergent needs to ensure an equitable education?
Cool, thank you. So one of the things I know that the district is doing and focusing on, for example, is continuation and building of more and more CTE classes. I think those areas, as well as others, and having special education, that's been a focus in a lot of the workshops, and making sure that that program grows correctly as well. But we do need to continue in ensuring that just as much as we're preparing our kids for college and for other type of programs, we need to make sure that we are preparing students for the other environmental type of opportunities, and whether it's entrepreneurial or other needs within the different diversity that we get within the community.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McDowell, if you'd close us out.
Yes, sir. I think we have the distinct privilege of having Dr. Jordan here as part of the administration and the cabinet. She does a great job. I think we also got to continue to focus on our core subjects, the things we do well, math, English, science, encourage and support our UIL academics, add CTE courses that not only generate more state funding for our district, but also prepare students for different trades, skills, and certification. Should a student decide college is not for them, we hope every child that leaves Argyle ISD is highly recruited. Whether they are attending higher education, a vocational trade, military, or directly into the workforce. And I think we just need to continue to drive that.
Thank you, sir. I think we're back to you, gentlemen, if there's any need for rebuttal. Anything, gentlemen? No? Ladies? District, would you recommend reevaluating the 10-year plan in accordance with the 6-month analysis discussed at previous school board meetings?
I think when being on the Bond and Growth Planning Committee twice and on the Bond Oversight Committee and seeing the timelines, the issues that we have with Argyle ISD being part of 5 municipalities, time is of the essence. And although we don't need it today, we do need to start planning today. The whole process, the rollout, so that we don't open a school, unfortunately, the day before school starts, we have to be ahead of the ball. And that's exactly what planning and the 10-year strategic plan is for. Now, that being said, you always have to be open-minded, and things evolve all the time. Like, nobody planned for what COVID was going to be like and what the shutdown was going to be like. Who knows what comes next? And so you can't say it is locked down in concrete, but for right now, with the information that we have to start planning. We have to have the funding. We have to get these facilities for our children.
Thank you. Mr. Pizzuto?
So sorry, so quick, there was a lot in that question. Can you repeat that?
You know what? There is a lot in this question. You're absolutely correct. Yes, sir. If the financial impact of 2 high schools were calculated to create a significant impact on the district, would you recommend reevaluating the 10-year plan with the 6-month analysis discussed at previous school board meetings?
So just simply, yes, I would. I mean, so either way, it will be a large financial impact on the district, but that doesn't mean that I don't agree with where it is in the planning for it, too. So I agree with Wendy, you have to plan for where we're headed. You have to plan for the size we're going to have. Nobody, I know there's a lot of information, a lot of people out there with different opinions, but with the growth that we are likely to have, we will be bigger than Allen School District, and that is huge. And it's too big for students, for teachers, and it's not great for that student experience. I personally went to a very large school. I had 600-700 people in my class, and it's great. But having 900 to 1,000 is a different story, and our district would be that big. But we need to plan to understand and be ready for those type of environments and that situation. But yes, if as we look at the data and understand more of the financial impact, if it didn't look like it lined up how it needed to be, and we weren't ready, then yes, I would say we need to revisit and understand better.
Mr. McDowell?
Just so I can clarify that, make sure I answer your question correctly, could you restate it one more time?
Happy to. Yes, sir. If the financial impact of 2 high schools were calculated to create a significant impact on the district, would you recommend reevaluating the 10-year plan in accordance with the 6-month analysis discussed at previous school board meetings?
Having served on the 2022 bond and the 2024 bond, I'm going to tell you those analyses have been reviewed and looked at very closely already. We have 2 functioning high schools here in Argyle ISD. We do not have the land banked. There's no land for a 100-acre farm for a high school. And that's what it would take, is you're going to have to go and change it completely, which would be more expensive. We have 2 highly functioning schools. So am I for the 10-year strategic plan? Yes. Am I for, when the capacity is determined by the board, that we go into 2 high schools? 100% yes.
Thank you. Dr. McDade?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Again, I will say that the 10-year plan is extremely flexible. We are looking at things all the time. We're already looking at the budgetary impact moving forward. This facility here will not hold a mega high school, so it would be impossible for us to do everything here, which then just makes the implication that we'd have to go with 2 separate buildings, either a 9, 10, 11, and then 11, 12 here. Whenever you split a high school into 2 different buildings, you're going to have to look at a block schedule. Block schedule is going to cost anywhere from around $1.5 million a year. That's not startup costs, that's every year, which right now is probably the cost of our teacher raises, if we were able to do that. And so because of that, we have to look at that. Automatically, you have that $1.5 million price tag. And so then you have to look at, okay, what balances that out if you were to not do 2 high schools? And I don't know that we're going to get to that point.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh? Oh, did you start us?
I think I started.
Yeah, she
I've
started.
already forgotten. I was ready to read the question again. Okay, so that gets us back around to Josh for the next question. Oh, yes, rebuttal, thank you. Goodness gracious, the wheels were flying off, ladies and gentlemen. So sorry. Let's do rebuttals, and then we'll get the next question.
Thank you. I think one important thing to hear and listen for in that too, it wasn't just, our, 2 high school, or what do you support based on financial impact? It was, would you be willing to revisit based on new or different information? And that's important. We need board members that are open and not closed-minded on one track no matter what. And when you hear this, that's a problem. And I'm not saying our board is that way and they're acting that way, but when you hear that, yes, this is all I support, this is all I've done, then that's what I hear, and that's what our voters are hearing.
Mr. McDowell?
Yeah, 100%, when you look at the financial workshops we've been in, things of that nature, we've come back, it is completely open and being analyzed. This is the most cost-effective way to move forward. Just because we don't like the answer doesn't mean we have to change the plan. The plan is the most effective, cost-effective way moving forward. Do you listen to it? Do you adjust off of it? 100%. But the plan is not changing.
Thank you, sir. Ladies, anything further on your end? Dr. McDade?
Just in response to Mr. Pizzuto, I can tell you, being a current board member, there's not a board member that I sit with that's closed-minded. We are all open-minded. We always have discussion. We're always looking at everything. We made a decision. We're going to support our decision. That's just what you do when you make a decision. So it's not that things couldn't be changeable if we chose to, or that we're closed-minded to anything. We are constantly talking, constantly looking at different options, possibility of different options. Right now, this is the best one. It's the one that we're going to go with. It's the one that seems to be the most financially viable one and best for the kids.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, very good. Josh, we're back around to you. Question's a little bit shorter. What do you believe your role is as a school board member, and what is your collective role with other board members as a team of 8?
Yeah, I think, the most important thing, and again, I go back to this quote that one of the demographers or one of the team came and presented to the school board is you don't need to think alike, but you need to think together. And being on a team and having this team of 8 that the board works together, it's very important, and I have a high respect for that. You have to be able to have, in any organization, any team, any group, a comfortable level of conflict. And it's not conflict in the bad way of fights, but it's conflict in conversation, and be able to discuss topics and be able to discuss and disagree, and it'd be okay to disagree. It's those disagreements in conversation that push different ideas forward, create better ideas in the long run. But when you have a group that thinks completely alike, and I'm not saying that this group does, but you don't come out with the best outcomes. You come out with the same idea that started.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes, sir. I believe you said qualities.
Yes, sir. What do you believe your role is as a school board member, and what is your collective role with the other board members as a team of 8?
Yeah, absolutely. So board members must have character, strong values, morals that serve as your foundation for all decision making. We cannot forget that we make decisions for the kids. We need to be supportive and advocate for public education. We must be willing to learn, listen, and understand the role of each board member. Which is to oversee budget, establish vision and policy, communicate vision and policy, manage, support, and evaluate the superintendent. That is our job. It's constant. We need to make sure we work together. Having been a part of workshops and board meetings for the last 6 months, I can tell you in workshops and public forum, there are disagreements and questions that get tabled, and I think that is respectful.
Thank you, sir. Dr. McDade?
The basic role of a school board member is governance and oversight. Governance is that we make policy. Oversight simplistically means that we make sure that policy is followed. We entrust the superintendent, Dr. Carpenter, to run the day-to-day. We don't run the day-to-day in the district, but we entrust her to carry out board policy and to carry out our vision as a board of what we want for the district. The team of 8 concept is just that. It's the 7 of us plus the superintendent. So there's always that conversation, there's always that open communication, there's always that dialogue that we have with her in order to make sure that the district is running as it should, that we are following policy as we should, that we're doing things correctly as we should as a district. And we're certainly not group speak, we're certainly not shy about having conversation by any means, and I can tell you that is a fact. So that's what we are.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. McHugh?
So obviously the expression is the team of 8, which is something I'm very familiar with, having worked in front offices, again, to reiterate, working with administration, working with staff, working with families, and figuring out how to continue to work together to make this the best environment we can for our students. It's the same with the role on the Board of Trustees. You have to work together and you have to support each other. You can have your own opinion, you can voice your own opinion, but you have to know that the people that you're on the board with, that you're in the classroom with, that you're in the administration wing with, that you have each other's back so that we can continue to move forward and continue this legacy of excellence.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies, any rebuttals? Any further comment?
I have just a comment or two. No, we don't run the day-to-day, and we work with the superintendent. It is truly a team effort. And I think everybody needs to understand that piece, that when we do talk and we do have conversation, it is strictly to go in one direction, which is what is best for our kids. So,
Thank you. Gentlemen, anything further? No, sir. No? Very good. Okay. Rich, I believe we're to you with the next question, and that is, what specific opportunities do you feel the district could leverage to increase revenue to offset the projected budget deficit in a meaningful way?
Great question. I'm not a CFO of a school district. That being said, there are ideals that I would have. I was talking to my son is going to drive pretty soon. In a previous community we lived in, kids painted parking lots spots, and that was charged. There was money charged for that. I'm not sure if that's been discussed or thought of, but I know probably my son would gladly, paint his parking spot and take care of it. I think there's other things that we can do as far as, there's been some districts we've been a part of that, charge for, different fees. I think Argyle has done an tremendously awesome job with the families of keeping the cost to the kids and the families down. But as these times change and we haven't been given a raise on our child since 2019. So just think about your personal life, 2019 to today, things have gone up from water to insurance to all of that, and we haven't increased that funding per child. I think, unfortunately, that burden, the state has put it on the parents.
Thank you, sir. Dr. McDade?
I pretty much answered this question earlier. We have reduced our budget deficit for next year down tremendously. 80% of your M&O budget is staff. So sometimes when you have to look for the tough cuts, that's the first place you have to go. We're very, very prudent about staying away from the homeroom classrooms, whether it was a special ed classroom or a general ed classroom. And yes, we have a whole list of things that are currently being investigated and looked into for sources of revenue for us to kind of help to offset that. We're also looking at making a 3-year budget so that we know that probably going into this one, like most other districts around the state, or many other districts around the state, we are going to go into a deficit budget, but we're going to try and keep it as low as we can.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh?
So I know some of the proposed ideas are increasing class fees and increasing UIL fees and technology fees. They're a nominal cost with a limit per student per family. UIL fees are something that we already pay, and they have not increased since we started here as a family in 2012. It's typically $75 a student, a max of $150 per family. That's definitely something that hasn't increased, but it does really give some wiggle room for people to be able, for us to be able to make some money back that way. Same with technology. We have been very privileged to have one-to-one technology in Chromebooks and things like that, and iPads and what have you. But increasing perhaps a technology fee, those are things that are feasible, they're tangible, they're things that our students use and would have immediate results.
Thank you. And Josh, if you'll close us out on this question.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, at the past couple workshop meetings, it is really impressive to see Liz as well as the others come back and say, here are some areas where we can bring more revenue to the district so we don't have to make as many cuts. And I really do support that, and I think that's really good. Rich's comment on the parking spots, I know the kids, and I love that at previous high schools, and it was something I looked forward to seeing every year, and I would love to see it. Just little things like that. As we continue to build the district, is building fine arts areas like this that are state-of-the-art, as well as athletic areas that are state-of-the-art, so that we can use those as revenue centers for district, state/events, bigger events. Those type of things can bring in revenue on a different level, maybe not as much as consistent as the other smaller ones, but to continue finding revenue-generating areas like that as we develop nicer, bigger, better facilities. Yeah, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any rebuttal?
No, sir.
No? Ladies? Okay, very good. Next question, we will start with Dr. McDade. Dr. McDade, do you feel the first ranch development will overall benefit or challenge the school district?
My answer to that is yes. I think it'll do both. I think the estimate, I might be wrong on this, but they're talking about maybe $8 billion in taxable value, if I'm not quite sure about that. I have to look that one up, but it's a lot of money. But at the same time, we're going to get kids. And so when we get kids, we need schools. And so, yes, it's a challenge in one respect. I think it'll bring a lot to the community. It wasn't my first choice to have that over there, but it is what it is, and it's coming. You just have to embrace it and go with it. So yes, we're going to have to build several schools in that community, but we will get some really great revenue out of that, which will really help us a lot with our taxable assessed value, our M&O budget in general. We're not going to see that right away, but it is coming.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh.
Absolutely, that location is going to be a benefit and a challenge. As Dr. McDade was saying, the tax revenue will be wonderful. But again, working with 5 municipalities, we're going to have probably a hot minute before we're going to have some headcount coming from that property. My understanding on how they're doing the rollout, we've got a little bit of time, which is why we have this 10-year projection with those numbers in there as we're continuing to plan, so that we can have far enough foresight to be able to plan for that next boom coming from First Ranch.
Thank you, ma'am. Josh.
So yeah, I think, the big piece that we're struggling with Argyle ISD is those commercial tax dollars. Rooftops don't bring the tax dollars and the revenue that we need to be sustaining the type of school and the growth that we have. And so we need just like Flower Mounds allow, working with it, and North Lake as well as, and bringing some of those things. We need the different 5 municipalities to work with us to help bring the right commercial business in. And so I do like, the different plans that First Ranch has. Now, what we don't know is we don't know how that's going to develop. When you look at development plans, if you get 80% of what they present at the beginning, you're lucky. And so that's where we need to make sure that we have the right team, and if you live in Flower Mound, and the right oversight to watch that development. But also as a district, is we need to be working with Jack First as much as possible to continue making sure that stays to plan and that it helps the district grow and help fund these different things that we need as the district continues to grow.
Mr. McDowell, if you will close us out.
Yes, sir. It's been a topic of discussion since 2022, and I don't think one piece of dirt's been moved yet. So, while I know it's coming, again, it's something that we're looking forward to the future, and we know it's coming. The blessing it's going to be is the more students we have in Argyle ISD, the more revenue we get. Probably the bigger concern, which isn't an Argyle ISD challenge, is TxDOT. The fact that 377 is going to be, it's going to take kids, leaving from the high school, being right across the street at First Ranch, it's going to be problematic. And, I don't know where that TxDOT is in all their future planning, but I think that's going to be the bigger challenge than this, adding the kids to the district.
Thank you. Ladies, any rebuttal comments? No? Gentlemen? Yeah. Go ahead, Josh.
So yeah, and I agree. TxDOT's going to be real important. You know what? The one thing that really gets TxDOT's attention is voting. And so we do need to make sure whoever you're supporting, we get people out to vote, because those voter records actually move TxDOT dollars. If you look at Robeson Ranch Road, that was built many, many years ago, and it was based off of Robeson Ranch having a crazy high voter turnout rate. But we need to make sure, again, we're looking and watching and adjusting. Hunter Ranch was supposed to start 2 years ago, and that's up in Denton County, but because of the environment and things have changed, that stopped and slowed down for now. So we just need to make sure we're watching and continue to watch that it is to our plan, or helps our plan.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found the question we're looking for, the last question. Wendy, you get to start us. Mm-hmm. The question is, what is the biggest issue in this election that has not been adequately addressed tonight?
Wow. I don't know. I think there's been a lot of things that have been addressed. I think, we all have the same interest at heart, is putting students first. I don't know. There's always, CTE is a big thing that people really want to be advocating for, and that is coming, right? That will be part of what we will bring as we evolve. I think just about everything has been addressed, in my opinion. I'm sure there's somebody way smarter than me that has a better answer, though.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you. Josh, if you want to go next.
Yeah, so I won't claim to be any smarter or not smarter, because it's tough. There's really good questions. I think that from where we started at the beginning, the biggest question is still, how do we unite the community in the right way? and understanding what we can do. I don't believe telling the community that the ship has sailed and we're done and this is it. That does not, again, I don't mean that we change the plan. I think we need to find different and creative ways to make sure everyone understands what the plan is, has the ability to give input, know that their input's heard, and then find ways to unite the community in the right ways. Because Argyle, we don't want to turn out like every one of these other school districts, where the school districts are fighting because this is growth and something else. But we need to find a way to solve that challenge. But it doesn't mean telling people that they're wrong, even if their information might be a little off, but we just need to help people understand fully the information.
Thank you. Mr. McDowell?
Yes, sir. For me, I think it's going to go back to funding. I think this may be one of the most important tasks of the current board. We need a board to lead on legislative advocacy, easy for me to say. Public education has been politicized. It's under attack. I said this earlier, teachers used to be appreciated and off limits. Now they're being used as political pawns to pass a school choice program. I think public education needs to be our staunchest defender, and that we can start with the board level. And, stay engaged with the local and state representatives, confront state reps with difficult decisions having to be made at the local level. Every decision that's currently being made was forced upon us. It was not something that Argyle ISD or this board did to cause a financial collapse, right? So the fact that we're 4.3 million down, the funding fit, hey, we're going to get it. Let us get into the state legislation. We're going to take care of it. And they just didn't. And I think we need to be promoting that and going after that. Thank you.
Dr. McDade, if you would close us out on this question.
Certainly. I think our biggest challenge is being able for us to move forward in light of financial issues, in light of, there is a little bit of a division in the communities to some extent, but not like it has been. Yes, we made a decision. Yes, we're moving forward, and we need to believe in that. We need to go that route. We need to plan for it. I think one of the biggest things that we haven't really totally touched on is the challenge in funding our district, continuing to fund our district, and being able to meet the needs of the changing demographics that we're going to be having that are coming in here. And right now, we're kind of not totally stopped in our tracks, but we have to take a little diversion because we have to deal with the financial piece that the legislature has chosen not to deal with.
Thank you, ma'am. Any rebuttal here on this last question? No? Gentlemen?
I will. Coming a little bit off what Dr. McDade said, this district has not ever shown, we all moved here for Argyle. So if we want to unite and we want to continue to be the Argyle that we are, it's because of the decisions that have been made in the past. And we need to embrace the decisions that are made for the future. And that's how we unified. We don't need to get into the back and forth of whatever. We just need to come together and move forward.
Thank you. Josh?
So, and I would agree with that. And Dr. McDade, that moving forward is important. I agree. We do, and that is how you unite. But you need to find ways to move forward together. When you're a small group, a small team, a small community, it's real easy to get on the same page and understand and kind of have the same thoughts together. The larger you get, the burden of that communication and the need for that higher level of communication in different ways, it becomes more important because it's not going to be as easily clear. And so we just need to find those ways to help the community move forward together. So I agree in many different ways.
Thank you so much. So we're at the point of conclusion of our program tonight. However, we want to do closing statements, of course, 1 minute from each of you. And Wendy, we're going to start with you since you were last on the opening statements.
Fantastic. Let me grab the microphone. My distinct familiarity with the operations of Argyle ISD campuses and the front office, coupled with my role as a parent, enables me to establish meaningful connections among students, families, faculty, and administrators. Having insight into the functioning of a campus could assist the board in making some clearer, better decisions, although they've done a great job. I hope to earn your vote this spring, and as always, how I ended all the middle school announcements every day, go Eagles!
Dr. McDade?
Oh, we're going backwards.
We're going backwards, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Appreciate that. My record, my career experience, and my contributions to this district stand on their own. My why is always the kids. Cheapest is not necessarily best for kids. Be sure that you always get your information from trusted sources, primary sources. I encourage you to go to the AISD website, read the Bond 2024 section, the FAQs, the Ask Argyle section for current and accurate information. Remember, if you have a neighborhood school, it is because others voted for it. Pay it forward with the bond. Someone else did that for your kids. As a side note, I am endorsing Mr. Rich McDowell. I have known him and his family for several years. I watched his leadership co-chairing the 2022 Bond Committee, and I know that his vision aligns with that of the current board. I humbly ask for your vote to continue my work in advocacy for our wonderful district, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes, sir. First and foremost, I want to thank the Boy Scout for helping us this evening. You did a great job. Secondly, I want to thank all 4 candidates up here because you raised your hand to serve this district and this community, and I don't take that lightly. I would love the opportunity to serve on this board, this district, with our children. We are better when we are trying to find our common ground. Whether you moved here 6 months ago or have lived here for 50 years, we all came to Argyle for this community. This community has allowed us to raise our children in one of, if not the very best schools in Texas. Let us continue to enhance that for generations to come. I would be honored if you and your heart felt to vote for Rich McDowell, place 4, starting on April 22nd and ending on May 4th in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Mr. Pizzuto?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you as well to the Boy Scout. I think if I see that's right, that's a life. I was an Eagle Scout, so it's keep going and keep pushing. Oh, yeah, okay. So if anything's clear from tonight, it's that there's obviously between all of us a lot of different passion, whether it's between our schools, the district, students, and the future of the district. For many years, Argyle has been different, and watching district races in the past and surrounding us, I'm proud to be one of the candidates running this year. I have a lot of respect for the way that we have all run this race this year. Argyle is special, and it will take something different to keep it that way. As we grow, I expect there to be plenty of challenges, but what is important is that we don't try to copy or be like many other districts around us that have gone through this growth. We need to do it our way. We need the uniquely Argyle way. Argyle is special, and we need to put in the work to keep it together that way. Opening tonight, my goal was simple. I wanted you to feel my passion for the district, my authenticity and curiosity mindset, and my strong thoughts on heavy communication. It's these things that we need on our board in position number 4, and it's in these areas that I am focused and commit to you. I hope that I've earned your vote tonight, and I'd appreciate your vote during this next election.
Thank you, Josh. Candidates, you all are an excellent group, and I want to thank you for your work this evening. Audience, would you celebrate them with a round of applause? Also, if you would celebrate Mr. Kane, Quinn Kane, our timekeeper. And I know the candidates want you to know that Election Day is Saturday, May the 4th. Early voting begins Monday, April 22nd, and concludes on Tuesday, April 30th. Visit votedenton.gov or call 940-349-3200 for any voting information. Please visit the Cross Timbers Gazette website at www.crosstimbersgazette.com for the latest Southern Denton County news, updates daily, local lives here. And lastly, this concludes our program. Thank you so much for your attendance tonight, candidates. Thank you, Argyle ISD, for the hosting, and thank you all for attending. Have a good evening.